you have to understand that the Jedi are not the Jedi that they are in the prequels. They're not the Jedi that they are, um, you know, pre and post Battle of Yavin. Like they're just
How? Explore that.
What are they?
Tell me how.
Hey,
Tell me
Ranks.
what the differences are.
He said they're not the Jedi pre and post Yavin. How many Jedi were there post Yavin?
Well, basically we're asking how much did Luke change?
Well, I mean, Luke. We never saw what his Jedi Order looked like.
Yeah.
No. Sorry. I'm talking post Yavin, right? Because that's a time frame. I'm amused by the fact that if you go by the film continuity, right, drawing all the stories we got from it.
People.
Well, the idea that she's like, they didn't follow the teachings or the sort of atmosphere, the society, the operation of Yoda in Dagobah. So, because there's nothing else in the movie to go from other than when Luke becomes a Jedi. Because, they haven't done this yet in their own continuity in the movies. They haven't shown us, depending on what third parties... Remember, they described it themselves as non-canon. So what does the Jedi look like post Yavin?
What does the Jedi Order look like after the Death Star got blown up?
They're about to show us with Rey rebuilding it, right? And then all they've told us is that it fell the fuck apart with Luke. That's their new continuity with Ryan that they haven't actually fleshed out.
Was she thinking about the old Republic and going, wait, I don't know enough about that to confidently say that? After Yavin. Yeah, that's right. The Jedi Order pre and post Yavin.
I find this is just lip service. She's just saying, like, it's not necessarily this era, and you're just like, describe any of those. Do it.
Describe your era.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the difference? Do something. Like, she never gonna elaborate on any of these points.
Like, no, it's different than other things. It's still human, though.
And the interviewer, if I wish the interviewer would be like, "What do you mean by that? Like, can you just something? Ask her to something. Can you explain how are they different, Leslie? There's just this isn't a conversation at all, and that's what's most frustrating. Like, I don't know which one of them annoys me more: Leslie and her bullshit spin and empty answers, or the interviewer just doing fuck all.
It is kind of funny.
Can you expand on your point, Leslie? Oh, I think I left the oven on. Hang on.
Yeah, she doesn't remember what her point was.
To summarize pre and post Yavin, by the way, it's just like all of time. Which should probably be a little more,
What was the thing basically with Yavin? I don't know. Was a bunch of Jedi got slaughtered or something?
It was when Anakin blew up the Death Star.
No, that's it's a New Hope. Basically, that's like the dividing point in the time. A lot of basically, like when you see a lot of stuff in terms of referencing the timeline, it will be in reference to before or after the Battle of Yavin 4.
Right.
BBY, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
BBY.
In a different space where they're operating with less oversight, number one, and they're also operating
the Jedi are operating with less oversight.
Less oversight?
Interesting.
I mean, it sounds like they've actually compared to surely the least would be whatever we were imagining with Luke's Jedi Order. It seemed like
absolutely
he could do whatever the fuck he wanted.
If she's comparing strictly to the prequels,
do whatever he wanted.
The curiosity, I would say, is that there seems to be a lot more corruption in that the very bosses of the Jedi aren't allowed to know about the goings-on of many Jedi being slaughtered for some reason.
Super sneaky at the top.
Like I said in one of our recordings, this is tantamount to like a sort of treasonous act to take full control over what the Jedi can and cannot do in the form of Venestra without consulting the Jedi Masters that are all on the High Council that are supposed to fucking... This is unprecedented, right?
Like the Jedi Council.
Near 10 Jedi are dead.
Not the Jedi Council, the Senate.
There's sightings of a horrifying monster thing killing everyone who has a lightsaber. You're like, we need to deal with this. And it's like, yeah, we're not going to tell you. What are they going to say when they find out? And of course the answer is, maybe they all die before anyone can get this out, which is getting more and more absurd every episode in a funny way.
Mm-hmm.
Think of all the Randys that know now. All the little creatures and people around all these planets that find out about this obvious shit happening.
No, the beaver.
The beaver knows the fucking pip droid. Well, I got its memory wiped, so maybe not anymore.
Oh yeah, rest in peace.
That was a close one.
And the mob, everything.
I would fucking. They know it all.
I would love it if on the High Council we had a scene of the. Well, first of all, I don't want him to touch Yoda, but if this was not shit, having Yoda be like, "So you had a bunch of Jedi die, and you decided not to tell us because you didn't want us to have a political embarrassment. You're fired.
Yep.
Like,
Yoda
it's not even
roasting
close.
this green chick, like
Also, you
Otto
might be in
Hightower,
prison
that
for
would
a
be my
long
thing.
time.
Submit your
I wanna see
dumbass
that.
whip and go home and never practice the Force ever again.
Dumbass
Yes.
whip.
Yes. I want to see Yoda roast the shit out of this chick. That would be perfect.
Yeah, I want him to say, like, what makes you think you had the fucking power to just say, nah, none of us are going to know about it? How did that
I
work?
See Yoda, I want to see Yoda go off like Otto when he's yelling at Aegon. I want to see him snap. Oh my god.
My
Stupid
grandson
bitch.
is a
Stupid.
fool. That seems so good.
Oh, it's so good, man.
With, I think, a little
Take your
more
time, Leslie.
hubris. Like, of course, we're doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing. This is how we've always done it, and that's the right thing.
You know what? Stopping a horrifying Jedi killer probably is the right thing.
Yeah, I was about to say that doing the right thing of investigating some deaths and then trying to apprehend the person who was responsible.
Yep.
Yeah, seems like the right thing, but
Yeah, but Fringy, think about the horrors they did to the lesbian planet. We're going to find out next episode, so how about that?
Yeah, but what? But what about all of the Jedi, like the Jedi that Sol brought, who weren't there, and whatever that was?
Yeah, all the Jedi were part of this system that generally seems to operate in a way that favors the average person. They haven't shown us anything that's definitively horrible yet.
I mean, you know, they mentioned the prequels. There hadn't been like a war in the Republic for a really long time.
Yeah, who knows how much they'll retcon that statement.
Well, I mean, I suppose they're inviting it by setting something early, like that's close enough to the prequels that it's gonna compared to the Old Republic, where it's like thousands of years earlier, where you can. That's much more of a case of you're a lot more free to do whatever you want. Compared to in the, you know, how can you create a whole bunch of stories with all of this drama potentially involving Sith shortly before a character said the Sith haven't been seen for a millennium and there haven't been any wars for a while?
Who cares? More lightsabers. Just dump lightsabers into it. Give everyone a lightsaber.
Yeah,
you get a
this one's
lightsaber.
classic.
You get a lightsaber.
Lightsaber.
Well, there's so many of them at this point. That was a gold mine on that planet temporarily.
Nobody picks them up or treats them like they actually have any value. It's so annoying.
Not even Ocean.
You know,
May did.
when we
Even the beaver, he should be hoarding that shit. Like, I'm rich. I'm fucking rich.
That
set
could
for
be a
life.
setup where he picks up the lightsaber from a fallen Jedi and then he gives it to someone else later when they need it. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. 6 episodes ago, he did that. The little beaver guy has a lightsaber. Everyone's like, holy shit, the beaver's got a lightsaber. Run.
I would be. It would be cool to see a scene of a bunch of guys like from the Jawa and Obi-Wan to like and discussing the value of lightsabers and like maybe like the green one is like the rarest one or something like that. Just some type of scene in a bar. It could be so satisfying. These little throwaway lines.
Yeah, black market stuff where
yes.
You know,
You know what I'm
hey, I got a lightsaber. It's like,
And
how do I know
I have
it's
a-
real? I need a demonstration.
Yes, you know what I'm trying to build, but like the idea of one of them, or Darth Maul's, the dual wielding being like worth like, you know, just something for the fans, man. Play with it. If they cared about this, they would know how to use these opportunities. And my example would that be like Arcane. Like Arcane knew how to like put those little Easter eggs in for the fans without it affecting the people who didn't know what the fuck was going on. You know, this show doesn't have that at all.
I've kind of said this with we were talking about it it was Mandalorian season. I think it was like the first or second episode of the 3rd season. We had not very long ago, we had a Clone War in which one of the sides in the Clone Wars used these super duper mass produced battle droids, and they all had the same super standard blaster, and you've never seen them again. They have completely disappeared on a galactic scale from the world, and that is bizarre to me. It's like those things should be everywhere in Star Wars. These cheap, mass-produced blasters that we never see, ever. And I'm thinking, man, what a failure of world building it is to just never have those things pop up, to never see battle droids ever again, to never see people who use them to guard their their little forts and their manors, and to just have them to do basic security or to do menial labor and tasks. It's just like there's no sense of connection between one thing and the next thing. It's so compartmentalized and weird.
One of the best things they ever did was making the stormtrooper gear like rusty because there's not any maintenance now at this point in time for it, and it's like, oh, that's a nice little touch. Fuck all since then. It's like if the little details, the things that should happen, we could pay attention to. You get reward your. No, I'm talking about in terms of just like standard protocol and whatnot. It makes sense for you to see worn down gear now in this point in time, and just any other type of continuity they have no interest in.
Seeing them on Brendock and seeing how they negotiate the issue with the witches and how
they didn't.
Yeah, there was no negotiation.
There was no negotiation.
Why use that word?
One of the twins turned into a psycho murderer, and the conflagration happened. There was no fucking dinner scene. We needed a dinner scene where they were at a table and they were talking about things.
They choked the dude for no reason. You can't just choke someone for no reason and then say there was a negotiation. Like
it's so odd. They open with lies that are really obviously proven wrong, and then the child is shown a lightsaber and she threatens to torture someone, and then you're like, what is happening? And it's like, hey, we have every right to test that child with permission. You're saying, what the fuck is happening? There's no negotiation.
Yeah, we're not part of the Republic. Well, that line just happens and no one gives a shit. So why did you even have it? What was the point of having that line?
It's so hard to understand how they view the Jedi. Are these people? Are you actually scared for your life right now? And if you are, why would you let them go on the ship with them to do the test? Like, you have no idea of like what the actual stakes are for the witches, what they think, and you just get even more confused by the lines like, "Oh, there's only 4 of them. Who would miss them?" Like, why do you want to kill them? Explain what's going on. This is the episode to explain, and you're just making it more confusing.
And I like to think that in her mind, she thinks, these 4 Jedi just never go home.
Yeah,
care.
who would miss them? Like, what? You fucking crazy bitch.
It's like,
what's wrong with you?
Are you stupid?
What
are you doing?
Because I'm just like, after a line like that, you need to explore their perspective. I need to know, is this bitch fucking retarded, or is there like a reason for her to be this hostile?
I just don't understand. I just don't understand anything anymore.
Show's insane.
Nothing makes sense.
Nope.
The Star Wars universe used to be a universe of like logic and basic cause and effect, and you could really imagine yourself living there. And I can't do that anymore. I can't say, oh yeah, I can imagine being in this world, because everything's just nonsense. Everyone's a psychopath, or they're legitimately stupid, and nothing means anything. And I can't imagine myself in that world anymore.
Nobody dies. Like, nobody, like, and when they do, it's fucking stupid. It's just, I don't understand, man. Like, Revan Sabine just broke the game. It's just, there's no rules anymore.
Children may be recruited by them. I mean, I know that sort of the idea, if I can sort of unpack it, I'm assuming that the idea was...
That would be great if you would
unpack it. I was going to say, yes, showrunner, please.
Love that. Yes, that'd be great.
Give us something, anything.
Yeah. Maybe if we're lucky, you'll put it in the show.
That parents give up their children almost as an act of public service. Like, we have a poor sensitive child, they would be better with you guys to train, etc., etc.
How come that's not? You haven't even. You've never even put that in. Why isn't that in?
Yeah, no,
like, you can explore the idea of like
the show.
They'll have a better life with you, with more mouths, less mouth. Like, we're poor, we can't afford this. Like, you will have a better life with the Jedi, and them trying to convince them, and or whatever. There's so many ways you can play with it, but even that they don't do. They don't even put that basic thing in the show, which is so pathetic.
But I think if, like Mother Anastasia and like Manny's character, they don't align their beliefs with the Jedi, and I'm assuming that there are some Force users that don't.
Can you stretch your imagination to think that? Interesting.
It's always been so funny.
I wonder what would happen if that was the case.
The analysis of the very few pieces of information we have, people have always been like indignant about the Jedi wanting the children. It's so fucked up and everything, and it's like, they're getting indoctrinated right now into a crazy cult that involves what the Jedi argue is like dark side usage. Who knows what the fuck all that means? We don't get to explore any of it, and everyone just kills each other. This is your show. Congrats.
Like, would they see children going to the Jedi as a good thing?
Who knows, Leslie? You didn't put it in the show.
Yep.
Potentially.
Who knows?
I would like to.
I don't know. It just
I don't know.
You don't know.
Wow. I thought
Could
you
you
paused
maybe
there,
know?
but that was just awkward silence. That's fucking unreal.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's harder to know, I guess.
You're
Not
supposed to
knowing
be-
is easy.
How do you not know? How do you not know? Like you're supposed to know these things. It's just. And she's
I
so,
just write the Star Wars show. I don't know what the fuck goes on in
She's
it.
gonna be like, Leslie, this is your story, right? And she's like, I don't know. Maybe it's yours.
I don't know.
Okay.
Something about twins and one of them's evil. That's
This as far as I as a human story about
reliable?
twins. I've already added loads.
a human story about twins.
to me, it was
What have we
important
gotten
that
from
the
this?
audience understood all of that. That
You didn't
didn't.
tell us.
No! If they come up with that, then they've just come up with that in their head because they're trying to figure out how shit works.
We've got nothing from the Jedi
Oh.
about how their recruitment works beyond like just casual stuff that involves. You know, we've had them be like, "You don't want to be a Jedi," on the side of the crazy cultists. Sure, but that didn't like mean anything. What is the operation standard for Jedi? What we've seen is pathetic. They come in and lie about how they found them and what they want to do, and then they just say, "With your permission, can we do some tests?" And then what? That's what we've got so far, which doesn't make them seem that bad, honestly, because if they discover that both the kids are hyper force sensitive, and then they say, "Well, now we have to kidnap them. That's just how it works," we'd be like, "Oh shit." Though I still think that we would all have trouble with it in terms of comparing them to the other actions, such as letting people go who are force sensitive. I don't think it lines up. They need to be definitive, careful, and informative about any of this, but she's describing a show she hasn't created. We haven't gotten much of any of this to work with.
What I was thinking, since there was a group of them, is like if they're not okay with them coming away, maybe they're okay with them having like a mentor or like someone who lives with them for a few years to make sure they actually have some guidance of some kind. Like this is our job, and it's not just about you being a Jedi; it's about you using the Force in a safe way. That's the priority. Then that would explain the full perspective. We did that, and that would give them an opportunity to explain their side of it. Instead, we get nothing. Like absolutely nothing. That's why I'm so confused by all this. Like you really, they botched this in a way that I didn't think was possible, even for a show this shit. Like they did zero.
like there's this whole other way of looking at this world that isn't Qui-Gon getting Anakin out of a horrible situation so that he can become a Jedi. So it's a positive coded transition to, well, maybe that was a really positive situation, but perhaps there were other ones.
I don't know. You know what Darth Vader did, right?
Didn't end up well, but there's plenty of questions that come out of Qui-Gon
Plenty,
picking up
yeah.
Anakin.
How many kids are beloved by their parents and they don't want to see their kid go, and they will fight and kill to stop the Jedi from doing that? What happens then?
Also, the word
the
coded
Jedi
was
just
completely
go,
superfluous there.
Yeah, but Shmi was an example of what I was saying. She knew that he would have a better life as a Jedi than what she could provide, and they couldn't even work with that.
I find the use coded very cringe, especially in sentences where it has no purpose. And she said the situation with Qui-Gon and Anakin was positive coded.
Well, that's because that sentence was cringe coded.
I just commit, Leslie. You believe it was a positive exchange. The slave was released and given into a Jedi Order that he, by the time he reached adolescent age, considered to be a positive effect on his life overall. I assume. This is what I mean about it being complicated. Unless, of course, she feels that it's complicated, in which case, say that. What's the positive coded thing? What are you trying to say?
Adding the coded thing, it's like perhaps. It's like one of those words that just makes it hard to really understand. Like, just commit. What are you doing?
So then, if the
it's
point
frustrating to listen to
is to go from that to be like, I want to show another example of how the Jedi might take kids from a culture. We're 6 episodes in, and we still don't know what the fuck you believe we should have learned from this. You seem to think we should have come away with a deeper understanding of how the Jedi operate, though.
the fact that she thinks they've explained so much of this already makes me think there might not even be a flashback. And like I was saying earlier, it's just we might be giving them too much credit even with that. So this show, I don't know. Expect the
This
worst
is-
pretty much.
A lot of the times when you have very young humans, we'll say, because humans have come up a few times in our conversation,
Mm-hmm.
eventually a young human learns that the thoughts they have in their mind aren't shared by other people. They realize that the world is they share this world with other people, other independent agents, and if they have a thought in their head, they have to convey that to other people, or else the other people just might not know that exists at all, right? And when infants learn to do this and young children learn to do this and they realize that's just the way the world works, hopefully that's something that's carried through by writers when they have ideas in their head and they're writing a story, and they can't just assume that all these little thoughts in my head about how the world might work and important details about the organizations in my fiction. You have to tell us that. You have to imply it or refer to it, or you have to write it down or have a character say it, or you have to have some reference to it so the rest of us, agents in the universe, can sort of like enjoy your story. You can't just assume everyone else knows it.
Yeah, they want us to do the work for them instead of actually putting that throughout the story. Like that's where the talent comes in, and they just skip that. They want us to like do all the work. I can't stand that.
Well, it's coded, you see. It's all coded into the show.
Drop it.
Yeah. It's world building coded.
It's coded.
Ones that were not. And did the Jedi learn from that? And when they did learn from that, is that why when Anakin shows up, they're like, he's too old to train? Like, we can't.
She's implying that this event with the lesbian planet is why they introduce a rule of you have to be a certain age before we can train you.
Oh wow, that very much feels like, here, let me just staple my story onto your thing.
Yep.
I'm going to staple the pages onto the. Yep, there we go. Yep.
I'm the reason. It was me the whole time. I've made my mark on Star Wars.
They always have to do that. They need to like slap their dick all over it and just like.
I wish their marks weren't skid marks.
Yeah, man. Rub their nasty underwear all over the fucking cannon. Like, why?
Whoa, I was talking about tires. What are you talking? What are you talking about? You can't be thinking about Tech Knight, right? That we're past that conversation. We've moved on to Star Wars. All right, you gotta keep up.
We've learned that this doesn't work. I don't know. Those were
So let me explain, Leslie. First of all, you say they've learned you can't take them at a young age because of the events, what happened, lesbian planet people. 2 kids. One, who did not have any connection to the Jedi, went nuts and started trying to kill them all. Child 2 did have a connection to the Jedi and amicably left them to pursue her own life.
Yeah.
To me, this is evidence that it's good that we send people to the Jedi. They act as a filter. They prevent you from becoming a murdering psychopath, and they might just set you on a lifestyle that you prefer that doesn't involve the Jedi at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is why this is difficult for me to understand what your criticism of the Jedi is.
Why would they put that in the show if they wanted to criticize them? It just makes it so fucking confusing.
If we're going with the idea that I think she's trying to convey, or wishes that she conveyed, that this is all bad. May or Osha turned out to be the bad one for whatever reason, right? That means that once in 20,000 years you get a dud, so you have to make a rule to make sure that you don't what? The Jedi have been around for many, many millennia. Remember, this is a very ancient organization in Star Wars from my understanding. So just because it happens bad once, what kind of a rule is this? Your reaction to this happening in the very specific circumstances around it are that, once you hit 7 or 8 or whatever, we can't train you as a Jedi. Like, no, they wouldn't do that.
The evil twin and many other of her strategies for writing are all very stereotypical and terrible, like tropey ones. I wonder if he entertains, hey, you know what? Osha and May, what if they're just in Soul's head? They never actually existed. He's just seeing them. They're not actually there. And they reveal that in the finale, and everyone all over the world is like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And she's like, no, think about it. You're like, well, what about all the actions they took? It's like, nah, it was done through Soul's force power, subconsciously.
The Force.
Yeah, it's like Fight Club.
Like he generated those sort of beings in the Force, but they were never actually there.
It's Call of Duty Black Ops coded.
Oh no. It's stupid coded. You have to be stupid to understand.
Stupid coded.
Hello, you just listened to a segment of the podcast Every Frame a Pause, or EFAP. Hosted by YouTubers Mauler, Rags, and Fringy and joined by a cycling variety of guests across the internet, they critically analyze media with exhaustive detail while pausing at every single frame. Subscribe to the EFAP channel and catch new episodes on Saturdays, as well as catch their smaller videos reacting to the latest and not so greatest movies and TV shows throughout the week. You can also subscribe here to EFAP highlights for the latest shorts, clips, and supercuts, also uploaded throughout the week. Links to all the relevant channels can be found in the description section below, as well as links to their communities on Reddit and Discord. Thanks for watching.